Hello everyone, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I truly wish you all the best, each and every one of you. Right, let's get into the video. What is storytelling in photography? Storytelling in a book is really easy to understand. Storytelling in photography, when it's a still image with no words, is one of those concepts I think is just very hard for everyone to get their heads around this, because how much of a story can you tell in a picture? I'll give you an example now. This is a picture that I took in London. Well, what's the story here? Right, this is what story means in photography. What we see here is clearly a late night scene. It looks a bit like the other shops around it are closed, so this is something that has stayed open late. We also see all these rubbish bags outside. This helps to suggest that it's the end of the night. They're chucking out the rubbish for the night, which is probably going to be collected the next morning. That helps tell the story of the time and the location and what's going on. We see this bike chucked against the bags outside. Someone maybe has dashed in last minute to try and grab some food to take home, or maybe it's one of the customers that's in the restaurant now trying to eat something before they need to get home. The street's empty outside, again adding to that late night feeling. This is last orders, and these warm lights that come from these neon signs make it look cozy and inviting. So the story is mixed here. It's one of a little bit of loneliness of the people that are in there, but they found somewhere warm and cozy where they can have a meal that maybe reminds them of home. Good storytelling images create an atmosphere and a mood. It reminds us of something we can identify within our own lives. We've all had times like that when we felt alone, and something like a nice, warm, hearty meal can feel comforting. That's the story of this picture. I think there's a myth around artistic pursuits like photography that you have to have some talent within you. There has to be this talent that you've been given where you're rare and special, and everybody else needs to recognize our talent that we have. And we feel that maybe we don't have that talent, then we can never really become a good photographer. I don't have an artistic background at all. In fact, when I said to people that know me that I was going to become a photographer and I was taking up photography, most people just laughed and looked at me and like, yeah, right, Martin, that's not going to work for you. That is literally the opposite end of the spectrum of who you are. But when I look back and think to myself, is that really the opposite end of the spectrum of who I am? I think no. I think there was always a part of me that was creative because I did like music and so on. But I never felt that I personally had any talent as such. I think all of us just get better at the things we put a lot of effort into and a lot of work into. So by taking more pictures, you're going to become a good photographer. I think the difficulty comes when we start to realize how long it's going to take, because it's a very, very long journey. And I personally think you should take pictures of everything that's around you. When I started photography, I took pictures of post boxes, bricks in walls, flowers in a church garden that I walked past, steps at the seaside, a discarded bucket, stones, like anything that I could think of. And what happens when you do this is that you notice the lights. You notice the shape of things, the mood of things, and you start to learn and grow. It's like a seed that germinates in your mind. We can go out in our village, town, city, park, wherever, and photograph the mundane and ordinary. And I really look back on my time doing that, the first 6 months or so, where I was just photographing essentially what people might call nothing. Because you know what happened to me after doing that for a year? People suddenly started saying to me, do you know what, Martin? I actually think you might be talented. Our photos don't have to be perfect. Perfectionism is a curse for most people, and an excuse, actually, I think, for many others. It's very easy for us to turn around and say, I'm not ready, my work's just, I'm just working on this last thing with it. I haven't quite learnt how to do this thing with the lighting yet, and maybe this lens isn't quite perfect. If I had that better lens, then I'd do that shoot. Getting better is incremental, and that's how we get better at things. It's a small step at a time, and actually sometimes we go backwards a bit before we go forwards again. We get better slowly through repetition. So the idea of perfectionism is that we say we're here and we want to be there, and we're not prepared to do the small steps in between to get there. This is the problem of perfectionism. It's saying we want to be here, we're here, therefore we're not going to do anything. It doesn't work. It actually counts against people. If you're someone who says, I'm a perfectionist, I would actually stop saying that and just focus on doing things. Because this kind of brings me to my next point, which is that be someone who talks about the things you've done, not the things that you plan to do. Oh, I'm going to do this shoot, and one day I'm going to have an exhibition, and I'm going to put my pictures up here, and I want to sell big prints for thousands of dollars. Tell people when you've done it, and in the meantime, do the work that's required to get to the point where you can do that. And maybe one day you'll get there. Perfectionism is often the enemy of progress, and it comes back to that old saying that done is better than perfect. Now, here's a difficult one for you. Get some feedback on your work. Find someone whose opinion you trust. They don't have to be artistic. It's just someone whose opinion you might trust. And I want you to say to them, I'm going to send you some pictures sometimes. And I want you to tell me what you really think, not what you think I want to hear. The problem that we have when we show people our work, which is usually our family or our closest friends, is they always say, oh yeah, that's great, that's really nice. They're never going to tell you, well, there's always a few exceptions with a few people, but generally speaking, the people that like you are not going to tell you what they think of your work. They're going to tell you, oh, that's great, that's really nice. Even if they think maybe it's a 5 out of 10, they'll talk to you like it's an 8 out of 10. That doesn't really help you very much. It might make you feel nice, but what it's going to do is it's going to give you a higher sense of accomplishment than you've actually earned. So one thing I do is I don't chase compliments. Chasing compliments is just an ego thing where we think, oh, I want someone to say something nice because I put a lot of effort into what I've done. Therefore, it'd be really nice if they said something nice about it. I'll go and tell so-and-so and show them my picture, and they'll tell me what I want to hear, and then I'll feel great. What you really want is someone to turn around and say to you, you know what, it's good, but you've made some mistakes here and I don't really like the way it feels and blah, blah, blah. I have people in my life, for me, myself now, that I trust that have a really good understanding of art where I can show them my work. And they usually just rip it to bits for me and tell me everything that's wrong with it. And I learn from that. That really helps. And I also have 1 or 2 people that don't know anything about art that I ask to give me real feedback on my work, just on how it makes them feel. And that's really interesting if you can do that. You could take someone who is in your life that maybe is a creative type, but not the photographer at all. Maybe it's not visual stuff, maybe a musician or something like that. And then say to them, what do you think of this? And give me really honest feedback and try and be critical. You might be really surprised at some of the things that they point out and feel, because when you ask someone like that, they're working on instinct and not learned knowledge. And that kind of clear, unpolluted and non-influenced opinion can throw up and open some really interesting points on your work sometimes. And the next point I'm going to talk to you about has been the one that has perhaps made the biggest difference in my photography career so far. It's also the hardest one to sort of pin down as to what exactly it is. And this is the serendipity factor. It's all the things that you can't predict that are going to happen to you by you simply doing more work and putting more work out. We always think that we're sort of at home and we put some work out and maybe some people like it and they write a few comments and that's the end of it. But every now and then, something truly remarkable happens. It's really extraordinary what happens if you can consistently put out work and start communicating with people, reply to people. Some of the connections you make with people can change your life. So I don't believe in any sort of superstitious mumbo jumbo or anything like that. What I believe is that if you put more work out and you put yourself out there, you will attract people because people will like what you're doing. And some of those people will have the ability to offer you jobs or opportunities or moments where you just think, wow, that's really incredible. And this happens not so rarely anymore. Where does that even start? Because you might be thinking, well, Martin, that's all very well you saying that, but you've been a photographer for a long time. I'm just starting. Well, it starts with everything that we've just talked about. It starts with going out and taking pictures of the mundane, the ordinary, putting your work out there, asking for realistic feedback, getting out and improving and understanding that incremental journey, not trying to be a perfectionist. Be a real person with flaws, who makes mistakes, who's improving. Make that visible to people so they can see who you are and what you're doing. People will like you, people will be drawn towards you, and then they will start reaching out to you, and these things will happen gradually over time, but it takes time. We've just become a society where we want everything like that quickly. We're just not used to having to spend a long time working at something for it to become a reality. There's too many, what if it doesn't work out? Maybe I should be spending my time doing something else. Only you can judge whether you're prepared to put the time in your life into something. But if you do, you will get returns. Look at it like this. If you spend 5 years working really hard at something, it's really unlikely that you're not going to become exceptionally good at it. It's just really unlikely. And if you become really good at something and you're a likable person, things will happen for you. Like, stuff will happen. There's no way around that. You have to accept that you don't have some amazing supernatural talent and that this is just work and it takes time. But I can really assure you the rewards are absolutely worth it. Merry Christmas, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.